cabinet picks are being described as controversial in both Democratic and Republican circles. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson reminded critics Sunday that the American people voted to shake up the status quo. And that's what these new cabinet officials, if confirmed, will be tasked with doing. VOA's Veronica Valderas Iglesias has the story.
President-elect Donald Trump continued making cabinet nominations during the weekend, including that of Chris Wright, an advocate for the oil and gas industry, who would serve as Secretary of Energy. Trump has prioritized political loyalists for key cabinet positions. One pick in particular, that of former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, continues to stir controversy. Before Gaetz resigned last week, a House Ethics Committee had been investigating whether he engaged in sexual misconduct and illicit drug use. Gaetz denies the accusations. Democratic Representative Adam Schiff told CNN's State of the Union that Gaetz, in his view, is unqualified to serve in the proposed role.
Are we really going to have an Attorney General who there's credible allegations he was involved in child sex trafficking, potential illicit drug use, obstruction of investigation, who has no experience serving in the Justice Department, only being investigated by it?
Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin believes the Senate should have access to the investigation findings, but told NBC's Meet the Press that Gaetz deserves a fair chance of being confirmed for the role.
I have no doubt that President Trump believes that Matt Gaetz is the right person to do the right job. Matt will be treated the same as every nominee out there.
The House Minority Leader, Democratic Representative Hakeem Jeffries, also appeared Sunday on NBC. He questioned President-elect Trump's cabinet picks, some of whom lack experience related to their proposed roles.
Is this the very best that America has to offer for a moment like this, with so many challenges that we confront? Of course not.
With their votes to elect Donald Trump, the American people have given the Republicans the mandate to shake up the status quo, underscored the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Republican Mike Johnson.
Any president has the right to name their own cabinet, to nominate persons that they think will fulfill their agenda. And the people that are on this list will do that. They will go into the agencies that they're being asked to lead, and they will reform them.
It is expected that most of Trump's cabinet picks will win quick Senate approval after confirmation hearings. The president-elect has also called on Senate Republican leaders to allow him to make recess appointments, which would erase the need for the hearings. Veronica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News, Washington.
The World Bank is helping Malawi's vulnerable communities address the impact of the climate-related disasters such as cyclones and drought that the country has been facing since 2022. Participants say increased community involvement would lead to more immediate outcomes from the program. Lamik Masena reports from the Karonga district in northern Malawi.
The Climate Smart Enhanced Public Works Program recruits individuals from Malawi's rural areas to take part in projects aimed at reversing or preventing damage from flooding, drought, and other effects of climate change. Funded by the World Bank, the $128 million initiative has helped establish tree nurseries for forest regeneration and construct gullies and swales to control soil erosion.
When we do the natural tree regeneration, we know that we'll have good rains. When it comes to floods, when we do the gully reclamation and all other things, we reduce the runoff of water from the mountains, which come to the rivers.
Karonga district is one of the areas in northern Malawi hardest hit by climate shocks. Here, the Climate Smart program has seen its participants grow from 13,000 at its start in 2022 to over 16,000 now. The increase in participants gives people hope of better outcomes in communities whose crops have long been flooded. approximately 5.7 million of Malawi's 22 million people will face hunger during the lean season from October to March, according to a government report. In addition to addressing climate shocks, the program provides wages of about $28 a month to participants.
At the end of the cycle, they get some wages in form of money, which assists them to have the things they do not have easily at the household.
Some participants have used their monthly wages to buy livestock, while others, like Milnes Mbotwa, have put the money into building houses and paying their children's school fees.
I usually save the money in village savings groups for future needs. So far, I've been able to bring electricity to my house and pay school fees for my 2 children. One of them is now completing secondary school.
Some critics question whether the participants will continue with the project, which ends in 2027 once they stop receiving wages. But project implementers say the participants are already being prepared for this eventuality, as they must work 40 days to get paid for 30 days of work.
We have deliberately stated that they should be working for 10 days as in community contribution, whereby they will work but they will not receive anything. That in so doing, we are trying to build it in them that they can also work. They can also do the works without even getting anything out of the program.
In the meantime, the villagers say their main challenge is having too few people to carry out the work they say require more people to achieve immediate results, something project implementers say they are considering addressing. Lamek Masina, VOA News, Karonga District, Malawi.
The city of Harare's demolished houses in Ridgeview and Belvedere since last week has sparked intense controversy. Authorities claim the structures were illegally built, hence violating urban development regulations. The council says the demolition of illegal structures is part of a larger operation to stop construction of unauthorized buildings in the capital. It says illegal structures have risen significantly in recent years. The city's illegal structures destruction has ignited a fiery public debate with concerns surrounding the motivations behind this move. Some residents are frustrated by the city's chronic housing shortage, which many believe is causing the current problem. Harare Mayor Mr. Jacob Mafume had this to say.
Where a school is supposed to be, a school shall be there. Where a clinic is supposed to be built, we'll build a clinic. We will not have a situation where people build on property that is not theirs. Build without an inspection of the plan. Build without an inspection of the foundation up to roof level.
But there seem to be discord between council and government.
I do not see the discord. The laws that we're implementing were made by parliament, were made by government itself. The court orders that we are implementing were done by the judiciary. We are simply complementing, we are simply exercising the laws as they are in the Rural and Urban Planning Act, in the master plan that is a law in itself. We have not deviated from the strict tenets of the law. And I do believe that our government, our ministry and parliament do not make laws for academic purposes. They want those laws implemented. Should they want the laws to be changed, they know how to do it and where to go to change the laws. But we as council will implement the laws as they have been put in place, and they are designed to create an orderly society.
But Mr. Mafume, do you have a leg to stand on? Because the same constitution says before you demolish, you must have an alternative place to move the displaced people.
We do have alternative places to move the displaced people. The country is big. People can go to growth points. People can go to farms. People can go elsewhere.
There is a concern from most people that why is it that council allows people to build their houses to completion before demolishing them?
We don't allow people to build their houses. A person identifies a piece of land that they do not own. A person goes and builds up to the point without any inspection whatsoever. When we want to move on those houses, people say there's elections. People say there's SADC. People say there's rain. People say there's cold. People say there's sun. Every day, people find an excuse for the law not to be followed. Land barons do not follow any format. They simply continue doing whatever it is they need to do without regard to the weather, without regard to the dictates of the law.
That was Harare Mayor there, Mr. Jacob Mafume, talking to VOA's Blessing Zulu about these demolitions. We will take a short break on that note. Please stay tuned. We will be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
And for those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming live on our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We are also live on YouTube, VOA Zimbabwe. Now, to discuss these ongoing demolitions in Harare, we are joined by Harare Residence Trust Executive Director, Mr. Precious Shumba. We also have Social Justice Analyst and Programs Manager for Zimbabwe Network for Social Justice, Mr. Ruben Bofana, as well as ZANU-PF member and political analyst, Snowball Tongogara. Gentlemen, the three of you, welcome to the show today.
Thank you very much for listening us. Thank you very much for inviting me to this platform.
I know it's a very sensitive but hot topic right now in the country. So let me start with you, Mr. Shumba. You heard what the mayor said in the audio that we played just now. What's your take on that before we go deep into this?
I think urban lands or even rural lands is governed in terms of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, in terms of the Rural Duty Councils Act, for rural areas, Urban Councils Act, for urban councils, and the Regional Town and Country Planning Act in respect of town planning laws. There is the Environment Management Act for issues to do with the environment impact assessment and the issues of protection of the environment. So there is also a situation in the country. There are thousands of people, estimated to be around 1.2 million people, who are between 1.2 to 1.5 million people on the housing waiting list of all the urban local authorities in the country. What it has meant is that it has created an opportunity for opportunists who are identifying and service the lands owned by the state, owned by the local authorities. Even private on the land has been taken over by people aligned or claiming to be aligned to political parties, where you find they act like they are above the law, they identify land, they parcel it out, sell it in US dollars, and what they are also using as they sell land that does not belong to them is to use Section 74 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. Section 74 of the Constitution says that it's not allowed to arbitrarily evict people or remove them from their homes or to demolish them without a court order. And for that to take place, we must have a process of examining all the circumstances. These circumstances have been the basis upon which the land barons allocate residential stands on land that does not belong to them. They tell their victims or their collaborators, we consider people who are buying land from undesignated authorities, because the only authority that can sell land is either the local authority, and in that case you have to go to the offices of the respective local authority. If it is for the state, if it is state land, the Ministry of Local Government and Public Works has offices designated for that purpose. Mm-hmm. And if it is the rural city council, you are going to the respective local authority. And if it is private land, you must go through the private developers so that you buy your land after examining all the papers, after verifying with the responsible offices. And if you are not sure, you have to cross-check. You must also go to the Surveyor General for the net to establish that they are genuine papers, rather than people are now hiding and using emotion where they must use logic. People must not violate
Mr. Shumba. Yes. Let me come in there. I see you are a preacher now in this ministry. We will come back to you. We will keep moving on. But let's also bring in Bofana. I need you to look at what the mayor said and help us understand what the law says in relation to demolitions like these.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Mr. Zminga. Yes, it's very tragic what the mayor was saying. I was actually dumbfounded, especially when he was saying that in reference to Section 77, which says that Zimbabweans have got the right from protection from arbitrary eviction, and all those evictions must be done upon a court order and alternative accommodation. So when asked by your journalist if that alternative accommodation had been provided, he said, yeah, there are growth points, they can go to rural areas and so forth. And that was very callous of him. That was very cold-hearted a response as far as I'm concerned. The law is very clear. If you are going to give someone alternative accommodation, it means unotomuratidzwa kuti tiri kukubvisa apa uchazoenda imba iyi kana muchazogara mumaflats aya. It's not just you destroy, you demolish their premises and you say aendai kumagrowth point. That is very Murambachina-like. Sezvatakaona makore aya. So it's very cruel. The law is very clear. We say Section 74, Section 76, 77, I'm sorry, of the Constitution is very clear, like Mr. Shumba has said. The Urban Council Act, Section 32, is very clear also. Eviction procedures require a written notice and court order alternative accommodation. Tinogona kutorangarira zvakaitika muna 2013 pakaenda veZimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights kumatare vachida kumisa kuti city of Harare from demolition avaita. the court ruled that the demolitions were unlawful and they had to be stopped. And one thing that we also have to remember is that demolition are way to piece. Even pane court order. There is not what kwakunaya, mvura yapadhuze. When there is in rainy conditions, they can have vulnerable people and elderly people at the needs to demolish their properties. Where do you expect them to go when there is now rain? So we can look at all these legal frameworks and say what the city of Harare is doing is in total, complete violation of the laws that I've alluded to. So but what we are seeing with the city of Harare is that they are rushing to deal with a symptom rather than dealing with the root cause of the problem. We've already heard from Mr. Shumba that the root cause is the absence of accommodation, the dire shortage of accommodation in Harare particularly. What is the city of Harare doing to address that issue? Yes, they cannot work in a vacuum. It's something that cannot be done by one entity or the government or local authority. They all have to work together. But what is the city of Harare doing? Because we have to remember, they were built by council. But after independence, which houses is council built? So that backlog, 1 million people has been said, waiting list, where are those people expected? So we need the city of Harare to work with the government and private entities to see how this issue can be resolved.
Aha, tokubatai muromo ipapo vambofana. Ndoda kuti ndiuye kuna vatongogara. If you can hear me, I had a feeling that some pointers were going to come out saying land barons, most of them have a very strong political affiliation to ZANU-PF, and people will use politics to forge ahead with acquisition of land and building in such areas. What's your take on that perspective? It's coming from the people here.
Thank you very much, brother. First, I want to say, Mayor Mafumi and this team, they need to have a human rights. Why do you want to bring down houses during the rain season? Why they didn't do back in August during the summer? They always wait during the rain season. Why are they so cruel? So they are saying, no, only work during the rain season. Every time when they demolish their houses in Harare during the rain season, they are so active. And we regret things like people of Harare, they continue to voting for opposition, which is so active. Then I want to come to address the issues of land barons. I want to say land barons knows no political party, knows political affiliation. We have cases of people who occupying high offices in the city of Malawi who were involved in land barons. We have got cases of rape, Komba, and other city officials. We have got also people who claim to be associating with ZANU-PF, and we don't even know whether they are ZANU-PF members. Have we ever verified their membership card to say these land barons belong to ZANU-PF? Anyone can claim that I'm ZANU-PF, so I'm giving you this piece of land. But is there a proof that person is a ZANU-PF member? As a ZANU-PF, we strongly condemn land barons. So I don't think there is someone who's so serious about ZANU-PF who commits such kind of crime. Selling land legally is a crime. So I don't think there's anyone from ZANU-PF who is involved in land barons. But there are people who claim to be ZANU-PF. We're not dropping always everywhere.
We hear you, Mr. Tongo Gara. We don't have much time. Allow me to come back to Mr. Shumba. In a nutshell, Mr. Shumba, what can affected residents do after the demolition is already done? Is there any recourse?
They need to file. They need to file papers with the court and sue the people who sold them the sale on land that belongs to the city of Harare. These people are the people who are responsible. They must compensate the affected people. But at the same time, the city of Harare needs to digitize their housing waiting list. They need also to publish a digitized land bank, such that when people inquire on the availability of any piece of land belonging to the city of Harare, the land bank should be able to provide further details about the particulars of any piece of land. Currently, thousands of homeless people desperate to own their own property are struggling to understand the processes, and the council is not helping matters. So we would think that a digitized housing waiting list would minimize human interaction. But in the meantime, the victims have to take up the matter and approach the court to sue the land baron who sold them land that does not belong to them. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the enforcement of the demolition orders, we have checked and we observed that most of these people have been warned before and they have received letters telling them about the status of that land, but they prefer to listen to land baron than to the local authority. And so corruption has to be uprooted even within the local authority setup, where some officials work with the land baron and the corruption commission.
Let's regai tukubatei pamuromo zvakare tipe mukana vambofana mudzoke. The council vambofana, I would like to say, owes the people of Harare. The government owes the people of Zimbabwe. What can these two entities, the government and the council, do to avoid mushrooming of all these illegal structures and make sure people have accommodation legally?
The first thing that the government and local authority have to do is to get rid of land barons. That is the elephant in the room. These are the people who continue to manipulate and steal from desperate home seekers using their political muscle. The way that they are so convincing to these desperate people, you can build on this place, no one can touch you, because so these people have got so much confidence that even if they are not sure of the legality of what they are doing, what gives them that confidence is because of the political muscle that these land barons supposedly have. Why are they not being held to account? Are they not known? At the end of these people are and you can have the money.
Vambofana, regai ndikubatei pamuromo, nguva yedu yabva yapera. Let's thank our guest one more time, Mr. Ruben Mbofana, a social justice analyst, Mr. Snowball Tongogara, ZANU-PF member and political analyst, as well as Mr. Precious Shumba from the Harare Residents Trust. A very heated subject. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you to our viewers for being on the show tonight. I am signing off. In Washington, this is Evans Zininga.